Today's episode of Adapt and Respond is sponsored by the Pimpin' Ain't Easy Marketing Conference. Does your business need to rank higher in the search engines? Do you want everything your company touches to turn to gold? If you answered yes to either of those questions, you and your business need to get your act together at the Pimpin' Ain't Easy Marketing Conference. Attend keynote speeches made by marketing gurus like the Bishop Don Juan and a pimp named Slickback. Participate in workshops and learn more about your target market and how you can get their attention in our high-tech world from such renowned professionals like Craig's girlfriend Joy's sister-in-law's baby cousin Tracy. This event is not free, and neither are your meals. So if you're a broke booty Buster Brown, this might not be your get down. Only real get money hustlers need to apply at the Pimpin' Ain't Easy Marketing Conference. Now, let's get started with the show. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If you're into that, consider joining the more than 198,000 subscribers to Adapt and Respond, a college football podcast. You can also catch us on Apple and Spotify if you so choose. Today on the show, I want to talk a little bit about perhaps the 5 most important games of the 2026 season and how Texas is in the middle of 3 of them. And I want to talk a little bit about John Mateer and what we can expect from him at Oklahoma. And actually, that's the place where we should start. So Mateer is coming off of what feels like a successful season at Oklahoma. Won 10 games in his first season as a Power 4 starter in one of the 2 toughest conferences in all of college football. Led that team to the college football playoff without needing to play in a conference championship game. First time that Oklahoma has been able to do that. Was able to do all of this after suffering a broken thumb, right? Where he couldn't really grip the ball. And still managed to eke out a pretty respectable season. Was he the kind of player in the second half of the season that he appeared to be in the first half of the season? Absolutely not. In the first 4 games of the season, he averaged 303 yards through the air and put up like 190 on the ground. This was an outstanding performance through the first third of the season, one in which he's right there at the top of the list for Heisman Trophy finalist. But he faded. And he faded after, that thumb and that surgery took him out. And then certainly got dropped after Oklahoma got dropped by Texas at the Cotton Bowl. And then it was, can Oklahoma develop a run game to support John Mateer's run game? And what other wide receivers, pass catchers would step up alongside Isaiah Satanga and Jared Kanik, who's converted linebacker to tight end? That's the other thing that really underscore here is John Mateer was playing the game with a dude that was playing linebacker the year before as his tight end. That's not the case this year. The tight end room has got a tremendous glow up, thanks in large part to former NFL great tight end and tight end coach Jason Witten. So now that we're looking at this, I'm asking this question. What do we expect from John Mateer in year 2 at Oklahoma with what might be the toughest away schedule that anybody plays in college football this year? It doesn't look great. It's kind of grim, especially when you take into account, you're at Michigan, at Georgia, all in the month of September. It's going to be some real prove it time for them. But Mateer has done some work to try to make himself better going into 2026, particularly around his throwing motion. Folks that watched John Mateer play last year will note what I noted. is that he plays quarterback a lot like a dude that's playing shortstop, a lot like a guy who is the best athlete on the field, playing the position where the best athlete must be. He throws a sidearm ball that's not only just easily batted, it's difficult to catch from time to time. It is an arm slot that empowers the defense to get its hands in the air and doesn't do him any great advantages in trying to hold the ball and put power behind the ball. But Mateer said it was deeper than that when he went to go fix his throwing motion this offseason simply by watching film. At the Manning Passing Academy, he would also admit that his thumb was not really 100% and he couldn't really throw the ball as accurately or as hard as he would like to because he felt like he was losing his grip on it. I thought he had a great way of describing trying to hold that ball as trying to throw a baseball without two of your fingers. So what he told Wilson Alexander at the Manning Passing Camp was, I don't think it's the way life should be lived when talking about should you have played ball the rest of the way if you were injured. Honestly, every Sooner fan wanted to see him out there more than they want to see Michael Hawkins, and him taking the year to rehab his thumb would not have been a great look for him, and I think he's right about that. You play the game with injury. If you don't play the game unless if you think you can't help your team, then you don't play, but you play the game with injury. He said, I think you challenge yourself. You see what you're made of, and I don't think it's that I wasn't made of enough. I just think that the challenge is really hard for anybody, and if I wasn't made of it, now I am because I went through it. It goes on. I have no regrets in the challenge I put myself through. Obviously, it didn't work out. Like, it sucked. We all watched it. I'm not saying that, but it's just the result. I just learned, and you learn that you can adapt, and then the offseason goes back, so I have no regrets. This is a dude that was really supposed to be the next Baker Mayfield for many. I think when Baker got to talk about him, put on his camp in Norman just last weekend, he was right. He said, look, he's tough. He's made of a lot. He's made of a lot of different stuff. He's made of a lot of tougher stuff. That's the way Baker put it. I think people really want to see John Mateer in Baker. Frankly, he's a bigger, stronger, faster Baker, if that's what you're doing, but he isn't as accurate. And that motion bothers the hell out of all of us. None of us like seeing him throw that ball sidearm. Now he says he's fixed it just by watching himself and committed to throwing the ball as overhand as he possibly can, right? Getting his arm slot up higher, making it more difficult for defenders to get their hands on the ball and making him a more accurate, more powerful passer. Remains to be seen. The thing that worries me about this and why I've been hemming and hawing is I have yet to hear that there is a specialist that has worked with John Mateer to fix not just his arm slot, but his footwork, his mechanics. We all know he's got the talent to play at this level and the next. But I see in him a guy like Josh Allen, a dude that could do with one of these dudes that comes through to put a bunch of cameras around you to try to help you identify the little things that can help you achieve the bigger things that you want. I mean, Josh Allen he threw a ball all over the yard, man. It was loose. It was fun to watch because he's strong as crap, and he could keep throwing that ball from 70 yards out from his knees. But if he wasn't going to be accurate throwing it, who gives a damn? If he was going to hurt himself throwing it, who gives a damn? The only guy that I've ever seen be able to get away with bad throwing mechanics, actually, there's two guys. One of them is a great passer, one of them is not. Aaron Rodgers can get away with his mechanics because he's just that good. Cam Newton could get away with bad mechanics because he didn't need to be that kind of a passer because he was literally everything else as a player. I don't know that John Mateer is good enough to have his own mechanics and be anywhere nearly as accurate or as powerful throwing the ball as Aaron Rodgers is. He can get closer to Cam Newton, but Cam Newton was every bit of 6'5", 250 playing that game at a high level. It remains to be seen whether or not this motion is fixed. Like, I don't believe it until I see it. But I do appreciate that he has admitted that it is a weakness of his. I also admit that he admitted it was a weakness of his to not really be able to read tendencies and coverages in the SEC. But the nice thing is, and he talked with him about this, he got Coach Venables with him, who has put together some of the most diabolical defensive schemes anybody's ever seen or heard about. And if that guy can't teach you how to read defenses, then nobody can. He's got some better parts around him. We know that. I think Terrell Harris is going to help him just be another Deion Burks out there. I think Satanga and he have an opportunity to do really, really great. I think the offensive line will be better. But let's not kid ourselves. Until we see the John Mateer that has reached that upper level where his mind, body, and soul must be one, expect the dude that you saw last year to look a lot like the dude you saw this year. Come back after the break. We'll talk a little bit about 5 of the toughest games on the schedule for anybody, or shall we say 5 games that will shape college football in 2026. Back on Adapt and Respond with me, RJ Young. If you are new to the channel, consider joining the more than 198,000 subscribers to Adapt and Respond, a college football podcast. You can also catch us on Apple and Spotify if you so choose. This segment, I want to talk about 5 of the most important games of the 2026 season as I see it. Just taking a look at the schedule up and down, and I think Texas might be involved in 3 of them. There are no shortage of great games really every week this year because we're getting rid of the 2 bye week system, which at least for this year, I hate. I've always wanted us to play maybe just the single bye because there are some weeks where we just got crap games. And there are also some weeks where we just got wall-to-wall great games. And we're all looking at October 10th and going, ooh, there's 2 there that we like. There's 3 there that we like. We're looking at September 12th and going, there's 2 there that we like. And then later in the season, of course, you got Ohio State, Michigan, you got Texas A&M, and you got a budding rivalry, or I should say a budding rivalry, a 30-year-old rivalry, depending on who you are, Miami at Notre Dame. Be a lot of fun. Notre Dame, a team that many people expect to play for the national championship in 2026. And as I look at Notre Dame's schedule, it's really them and BYU, meaning Miami and BYU, that they got to worry about. We also know that this Notre Dame team is loaded, and they have spared no expense in the transfer portal. They have gotten close twice now in the last 15 years to winning the national championship, first playing for it and getting trounced by Alabama in the BCS era, and then playing for it and getting beat by Ohio State just a couple of years ago. They know how close they are. They know how close they can be. They know what they want for themselves. I think Miami is also going to try to show this is not a fluke. This is a team that didn't make the ACC championship game, but made it all the way to the national championship game. That said, Shannon Dawson, offense coordinator at Miami, is on his 3rd quarterback in as many years. Of course, his first one, or I should say the one he had 3 years ago, number 1 overall pick, not too shabby, Cam Ward. The next one, Carson Beck, gets him to the national championship game. This one, Darren Mensah, we'll see. A lot of hoopla around Darren Mensah because for the second time in his transferring career, he made news. First, he reset the quarterback market at Duke. Then he just left Duke without really telling anybody that he's entered in the portal and just ended up at Miami. They sued him, they settled, and he's at Miami. A lot going on there. CJ Carr versus Darren Mensah is a lot of fun. So is Mario Cristobal versus Marcus Freeman. It's a lot of fun. But that's a game that's later in the season, right? Texas A&M, I hope that one matters. But that's not necessarily one that I would put on this list. However, it is, I think, one of the Texas plays in 3 of the 10 most important games in the country, I think. Talk about Ohio State, Texas, which I think will shape this season. Honestly, the one I'm looking forward to the most when those 2 play. Both Oklahoma and Michigan and Ohio State and Texas play September 12th. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then you could talk about OU Texas being important if OU keeps up its end. Like if OU beats Georgia in Sanford, Texas undefeated, yeah, okay, now we got something. That would probably also mean that Oklahoma beating Michigan. So it has potential to be one of the most important games, if not the most important game of the regular season. And that would include Ohio State, Michigan. You got Georgia, Alabama, which is always good, but it's a little bit later in the year than I can remember it being some years past. Georgia at Alabama is fun because, well, Alabama is the last team to go into Sanford and get a win, and the only team to do that since 2019. Georgia's going to want to repay the favor in this all-important year 3 of Gunnar Stockton's, perhaps the first year of Keelan Russell as quarterback. But the one I think at the top of the list for me, the two at the top of the list for me, number 2, we got to be LSU at Ole Miss. I don't think that anybody expected LSU Ole Miss to be the most anticipated SEC matchup of the season before Lane Kiffin turned leaving Ole Miss for LSU into a soap opera, but it is now. Everybody's invested. It's not just Ole Miss fans, it's not just LSU fans, it's you and me. We all watched it. We've also seen LSU spare no expense to not just get Lane Kiffin at the tune of $13 million, making him the third highest paid coach in annual salary in football. And of the 2 guys that also make 13 million, of the 3 guys that also make 13 million, he doesn't have any championship at a Power 4 level to speak of. No conference championship, no national championship. But they did spend $40+ million reportedly, allegedly, on their roster. And some of those guys that he brought with him to LSU played at Ole Miss. No love lost between Pete Golding and Lane Kiffin. Certainly no love lost between LSU fans and Ole Miss fans. Can't wait for that one. That one is happening September 19th. And I think that's the biggest game of that weekend. And I'm so excited about it. The other one that I would put on this list, and I put at the top, though, is Ohio State, Indiana. And the reason I do that is you look at this Indiana team the last couple of years and who they lost to. They lost to Ohio State in the regular season, and then Notre Dame in the first round of the playoffs. They come back, they run the table 16-0, which means they beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship in a very close game, and then proceeded to just run roughshod all the way through what was left of the postseason. It's a team that has not lost since it last lost to Notre Dame in December of 2024. And if you look at Indiana's schedule, the only team on it that you would trust to beat them right now, even with Josh Hoover at quarterback and turning over tailbacks, turning over corners, is this Ohio State team, which has the lofty goal of not just winning the national championship, but winning its first Big Ten championship since 2020 and beating Michigan, doing all 3 of those in the same year. Haven't done that since 2014. Indiana also proving that it's not a fluke last year by devastating fashion, would love nothing more than to further supplant itself as the best team in the best league in the country. And I think that's what this game would represent. If Indiana can beat Ohio State in Bloomington after having won the national championship, after a 16-0 record, they'll probably be undefeated when they played this game the first time. We're not going to have any more conversations about who runs the Big Ten. We would used to have them about Ohio State, about Michigan, even Oregon of late. But to look at this team or this program under Curt Cignetti and to ask what more does it have to do, punishing an Ohio State team as opposed to just kind of eking by them with a different quarterback in a third year, doing it, being undefeated, leaves no doubt, which would make Indiana go from the losingest team in FBS history until like the middle of last year to the best team in the best league in the entire country. Why the best league? Because it's got the last 3 national champions coming from it. They're all different. And the second best league in the country didn't feature a team in the national championship game the last 3 years. That game, Ohio State at Indiana, can do more to solidify and cement legacy of this Hoosiers era than anything else they might be able to do in the regular season ever. Genuinely believe that. Can't wait to see just what happens. So, If you agree with me, let me know in the comments below. If you got another game that we should be watching for, also let me know in the comments below.